Hey there, Adrienne Elise here. Welcome to the GAIA Daily for May 31st through June 4th, 2021. Moving into a new month, and we're already feeling a very different energy. So, we've just had Mercury turn retrograde yesterday, and very sweet, interesting energy with, we got Mercury coming back, turning retrograde, meaning means it's going to come back into its second. It hasn't really come out of this square, but its second exact square with Neptune. And Mercury in Gemini, its home sign, but a mutable sign, also Pisces, mutable sign. And we've got the nodes of the moon that's making the eclipse season in these mutable signs, the north node in Gemini, south node in Sagittarius. And the mutable signs are all about adjusting and changing. And in this case, Mercury retrograde, the mind, the psyche. But it's our psyche in relationship to our spiritual truth and the bigger source energy with this square to Neptune. But Neptune also rules this spiritual oneness consciousness and the dream, but it also rules the delusions that keep us from the dream. And this is exactly where humanity stands right now. We are being shown a nightmare that's playing out in our world of this AI transhumanism agenda and medical tyranny. But really, when you see the movie, when you see the play, when you see the drama, then you also see the screen that movie plays on, or the stage. And that's really the only thing that's real. And if you're being shown through these events right now that this world is a nightmare movie, or there's this thing trying to play out like that, then it's also within that duality is that, well, if there's a nightmare and I can see that that's not real, the Maya, the illusion, then what's keeping us from dreaming a dream, right? And this is exactly this energy because we have a super sweet trine right now. It's exact tomorrow. Mars in trine to Neptune. And it's such a beautiful energy for us right now. Just really take advantage. It's like Mars in Cancer has been trying to move this old stuck grief. And it's kind of like, wait a minute, this seems to be the main thing that's holding humanity back. You know, those old drama stories, the programming that keeps us in that place. And it's like, well, if life is a contrived nightmare, then life can be a dream too. Screw this. I'm out of the matrix, And how do you do it? Now, it's interesting because if we look at the mechanisms of this medical tyranny and AI agenda, the core essence is to disconnect. First of all, to disconnect. And there's been long held programs gone on, trauma through lifetimes, addiction energies, distortions, disease, deep, dark distortions and disease hereditarily passed down through the lineage of these trauma programs. And what's happened to humanity, it feels like, is that we've gotten stuck, like immobilized. When there's a trauma, our human body, our animal nature, our animal part of ourselves, and the collective consciousness, we could look at it like this. There's the fight reaction, the flight reaction, and then the most common, really, and this is the hidden insidious energy of immobilization. Now, I think that could really fit how a lot of supernova souls have been feeling, and generally in humanity over this last year, immobilized, shocked, traumatized. But it's actually giving us an opportunity to go deep on a cellular level and find these traumas, these old stuck griefs. Now, that energy is so heavy, especially if you're going on that deep dive as a supernova soul with this strange karmic desire we came into to heal our whole bloodline, right? And take on all of this heaviness of our bloodline and try to transmute it. So, you'll find yourself over this last period of time, I see this energy of coming up against this old stuck grief, and it's like a frozen waterfall. Now, think about that, because the energy of water moving is so powerful. It's the most powerful force. And that's what we're dealing with here with Mars and Cancer. This is a force of nature, nurturing as a power. And it's like you can kind of see that in running water is really, really helpful right now, therapeutically, for these times, because what we've been doing is going to these stuck places, and that grief, that immobilization is so layered down there. And when you encounter it, it can be quite frightening and quite, but this is exactly the place that there's this long-term agenda, which is around disconnecting humanity from each other, right? So when you're immobilized, when grief, an individual is immobilized in grief, they shut down their heart, and intimacy and connection is no longer possible. So this is this long-term agenda to get us to attach to the physical, cling to life, the survival mode, right? Cling to the physical as a way to find security in this emotional stuck place of disconnection. Now, the whole energy of social distancing, and that's just really ridiculous, and there's no science to back this up. It's ridiculous. We can see the agenda of this, of disconnecting us, right? Like no group events. Oh, group events, really important. Oh, human connection, the most important. It's about us being connected to source and life force, but we exercise that and we heal by human connection. This is the deal with all mammals, but particularly humans. Humans need warmth and connection to survive. And so the fact that the agenda has been seeking to disconnect us from source and each other and life force is like a validation of how important this is. But the agenda is clearly failing. And people are coming back together. And groups of people celebrating connection and celebrating life is so powerful. And this period of time is what's happening on the planet. Everywhere, people are starting to come back together in very deliberate, intentional connection and celebration. Like, oh, now we see the power of this. And so this is this Mars in Cancer. And in trine to Neptune in Pisces, it's such a sweet, sweet energy. It's like just rolling along. Life is a dream. You feel that connection. You can be in the moment. You can rest, feel held and loved. What would our world look like? Like I keep coming to mind this old story of a planet pre-planetary, like where the humans that inhabited Earth from the beginning, the experience of human souls, of this human experience pre-Earth. And there was a planet that was destroyed. And so there was a deep grief in those souls because they lost their mother. They lost this connection, and it was traumatizing. It was sudden, and it was a shock. Now, those souls were supposedly, in their next capitulation, part of seeding the earth in this human evolution. And so we started out with this rock in our shoe, this disconnection, this mistrust of the mother, and then the dark mother, that the mother became a dark archetype, right? Because the deal is like with human, when you have a huge need, like humans can't survive without deliberate connection, human connection. They will not thrive. They will not survive. They will not be able to further their evolution. Humans will not be able to come into their potential without that, right? So that becomes a way to control humanity, and a way for how humans have gotten to the narcissist agenda and controlling each other. We've been sold this big can of worms that says that we've got to get what we need from outside of ourselves. And this is the big lie that's breaking right now. And you can feel it in this energy of life flowing along, just resting there, this place of connection. And that is what living is. And this Mars energy moving this grief And Neptune saying, hey, in Pisces, there's a dream here for us. We didn't come here to get lost in the nightmare, right? This is a step along the way to the dream. And we know that's why we came. And now we see clearly exactly how to get there is connection, life force, each other, and source energy. Love the mother. The power of nurturing is the most powerful force in the world. And this is exactly how a human thrives. And it's exactly how we get out of this nightmare and into the dream, right? So human evolution cannot go forward in disconnection to source, right? This is all this Neptune transits. It's like, you guys, we don't get out of this one. We don't get out of the Piscean age without this, the cup of God back in our life. This is the whole point of this. We're not going backwards. It looks like it. The nightmare, they want us to think we're constantly going to be going upstream. And this energy right now is like, can you let yourself rest in the flow, in the trust of the bigger, right? Now, this is huge because tomorrow we also have the sun. This is the energy of this lunar eclipse that we had last week. And now the sun is coming up to its exact conjunction with the North Node. Tomorrow, we're feeling that. Yes, yesterday, today, tomorrow, in the next few days. Very, very powerful because the sun is, who are you? What are you doing? And Gemini doesn't know, right? Gemini's like, well, I could be over here. I could be over here. I could fit in with this. I can explore this idea. I can explore this identity. Gemini is about expressing yourself, but also overcoming duality consciousness and finding that voice, finding that sense of self, coming back to a sense of self, of who you are by sorting through the duality consciousness, us and the other. So Gemini has this medicine of us and the other. It's exactly the power of human connection. But Gemini is an air sign, so it's about mind and vibration and energy. And so such a powerful energy to come back into human connection right now on the planet. And how beautiful. Like, this is the key, and it's almost like, well, all of the astrology for the last few years has been about, what do we need to do? Actually, the last 10 years, 20 years, really, but it's like, what do we need to do to get to the Aquarian age? What do we need to do? What do we need to face? What do we need to heal? And this is like, hey, what do you need to embrace back into your heart? And what are you doing here? Are you living or are you dying? What is the point? And so this energy is like, whoa, it's that feeling of like floating along on a river and the flow of life and a beautiful environment and just feeling completely nurtured by the energy of this earth, by the mother. And then can you rest in that and send that vibration out to the world of like this picture of our new age, that we've got to get back to that place, and that the feeling of life on earth with humanity more cared for and loved. It's really this feeling of disconnection is old program deep in the psyche, in these bloodlines and this disease throughout time. And this forced disconnection and distancing and space and lack of events where people come together in person is showing us the power. It's showing us this wound of disconnection. It's, we've gone into the excavation phase, and it's been a rough time for a lot of supernova souls because you're going up against this monster and dark psychic distortions as we face this immobilized place. But the most important thing is to realize is that these feelings have been there. They've just been deeply suppressed and repressed, keeping us not living, keeping us from that full life force, keeping us from this full expression. And you've been brave enough to go to these places. And can you rest in the love that you can find there and pry open your heart of where you've been immobilized in grief? And a lot of this feeling of responsibility and wanting to heal your whole family, supernova souls, it's like creating an energy where it feels like you should stay in that immobilization. You should stay stuck. You should stay in the grief to be loyal to your family. But once you find that little signature of distortion. Whoa, I can feel this, and this happened way back in the generation. I can see how my family shut down their heart and their love and their warmth and their spirit. And so then we have to go logically, like, is it helping us to just stay there with them? Is that why we're here? Because it's killing you, right? You can feel it. It's like, the squeeze, right? But can you see that? Acknowledge it. Send a prayer out to the world, to every single soul that's feeling this disconnection, this immobilization, this impossible place of grief and like nothingness, emptiness. This is sending that prayer out and letting yourself rest in the arms of the mother and coming back to that energy. Just so incredibly powerful right now, in that, really rewiring as a supernova soul, because as the sun is with the North Node is where we're going, and the Gemini energy of expression and movement and direction, but a rearranging of the psyche. The South Node, the sun will be exactly opposite the South Node in Sagittarius. And this is this feeling of like your failed mission, your failed purpose, and, deep grief for the supernova soul. And it's like, no, we wouldn't be here right now if you failed. No, like we got to put away all these old stories and let ourselves rest in the love that's available right now, in opening our hearts up and going into those places of pain and saying, I'm going to face this. I'm going to move this. I'm going to release. I'm going to send a prayer of love out to the world, and recognize that the way that I heal is to bring the love back. The way that I can be anything good is to allow this love. This is where the paradigm, in the materialism paradigm, and that the narcissist agenda and reptilian agenda, where we're tricked into thinking that what we need, the love we need, and everything is outside of ourselves, and so we should keep paying the man, pay to play. And this energy right now is like, oof, all that love you're looking for, all this emptiness is making room for the love in your heart that's available to you by existing as a human, conscious of itself, and as a soul, aware of the God consciousness that you're living and breathing. And when you can show up with this love and compassion, this active compassion that's being activated once you can move the grief energies, once you get beyond, once you can, face the music there. It's this is what the healing that can help, right? Is to show up in this loving compassion. And maybe this is part of the deal with supernova souls. You had to go to the depths to understand what humanity is. You had to go there. Now you've gone there. You understand the blackness of disconnection, and you're bringing yourself back to wholeness, putting yourself back together. A huge energy right now of being put back together so that you can light the way. We don't heal. The Piscean age paradigm is to go down into the garbage, to be the savior, to be the martyr, and all that. And it's like, no, you're too precious for that. You got to bring your light of compassion, come back into your worthiness of peace in your heart and your big connected energy, and walk in that in the world. And every time you come back to that place of disconnection, distortion, emptiness, and immobilization, bring the love there. And so this is an incredibly powerful configuration right now, because we've got Mercury coming back into its second exact square with Neptune, but we've also got Mars trine Neptune. And it's just like miracle energy. Can you bring this back into your life? There's so much more, the compartmentalization psychic drama that we've been stuck in is just a total and complete lie, and you're the one that can see the way out of the nightmare and into the dream, because you've already lived the dream. You have the code of the dream. We're here for the dream, and we got to get on with that, So that's this North Node Gemini. It's like, okay, who are you? Are you investing in the shadow company that is the nightmare, or are you living the dream and being the love and opening your heart back up no matter how scary it feels and how vulnerable, and sending that love to all the souls that feel the way that you felt. Be the medicine, be the cure of this time. Everything that is the disease, the danger of the vax, the danger of the technological control grid is all serving to try to disconnect us from that source, from our God-given right as a human in a body to be directly connected to the love that fuels the world. And so that is the medicine. And it's really hard not to get caught up as as you see the truth, and this truth, humanity doesn't know the truth. And more every day, people are making the choice to poison themselves with this that experiment. And it's really, really hard. But the medicine is human connection and connected humans connecting with each other. So be the medicine. Show up in every situation as the medicine. Take that step, make that leap. This is astrology is absolutely working for you, and dropping all those old stories that you didn't fulfill your purpose, because otherwise you wouldn't be so hassled. And their agenda would have worked. We're supposed to be on lockdown for a whole nother year, right? And continual. And it's not working. And that's the place we're at right now in this beautiful trine. It's like people coming back together in celebration in groups, and it's going to push us over the edge into that ascension energy, that tipping point. And are you going to take your place on the front of time, riding the wave, and let that love back into your heart, and know that that immobilized, disconnected feeling is how humanity, that is the agenda. And you go there and you recognize it, and you know, and then you can send out that prayer to all the souls that feel that way. We're now feeling the ramifications in the collective consciousness of the separation, the distancing of this last year, the effect of the poverty consciousness, and fear programming. It's all, now we're starting to see it, right? And we all have to go to that place of disconnection in order to kind of deliberately fuse our way back to connection. But it's a completely different way of living. And this is this astrology. Now, it's interesting because we've got this sweet life is but a dream, rest in the arms of the mother, take a break, Mercury retrograde, just put it all aside for a little while, like get off the train of how you're supposed to move forward and what you're doing and where you're going and all that. Just be present in these energies. Just lap up the love that is coming in with this tide turning, and be that as much as you can. And find that when you feel like you're frustrated because you're finding these heavy, dark feelings, is that a feeling of responsibility, that's where you think you should be, because there's other souls, so many other souls there right now. But that's not the medicine. The medicine is human connection. And connection, the human connection. Humans are the bridge, the pillar between heaven and earth. We all have this beautiful idea of our pristine earth the way it was before humans came and ruined it, right? But we got to get the next chapter, which is like the human as a pillar of heaven and earth. This fusion of the two duality worlds back into oneness, into the dream. And so really powerful, because Sun North Node is like finally getting direction, except for that we're in between eclipses, Mercury retrograde in Gemini, and all this mutable square. And yet it's time to find direction. So guess what? That's a whole new direction. It's a whole new you. And it's you and your God self that you put aside in order to stay safe. But you've already been more embodied than you are right now. You've already gone through spiritual ascension. You've already worked with your light body. And can you be the mother for yourself in that mother energy to rest and receive the light of who you are? Huge energy for this right now. And it's preparing us for the next chapter, which is about Mars is going to be coming into square with Pluto. So it's a really different energy. We've got this floating along dream, this moment, this suspended, just rest there. Just, what else is there to life, to this life force that's available in the budding heart of humanity, opening back up to the magic, like a beautiful spring in the Northern Hemisphere, an awakening, leaving behind all those stories of the lower self and the failure, so-called failure, and the personality constructs and the family traumas and all that. But Mars square Pluto is like the power players coming up against each other. It's big tension and big power. And Mars has got momentum right now, not in a retrograde this year, in Cancer, moving along. The motor has gotten the boat. The motor has gotten the boat out of the eddy and it's trying to get down stream. It's getting in the current and the flow. But now that boat is coming into a square with Pluto in Capricorn and all of the structures that can't support this new level of existence that's required for us in the new age. So we're going to find in our life everywhere where we've agreed to give away our right, our autonomous right, God-given right to this peace and life force and the dream. I mean, I can feel in supernova souls almost like this glimpses of this peaceful in the arms of the mother feeling, and then kind of almost feeling guilty, right? Because you can sense the pain and disconnection of the souls around you and the lineage responsibilities. And maybe there's groups of people you feel responsible for. And it's almost like, oh, that piece isn't for me, right? Like, how can you be here if the rest of your family is going to stay in the chains of that dis-ease? Right? So this is a huge subconscious energy, but we've got to let ourselves rest in this energy because the next chapter that lies ahead is going to be it's like that final squeeze, pushing us out of these two timelines into one timeline. And then who knows what happens after that? Maybe, I don't know. But so now that Mars square Pluto is going to bring up every structure in your life that is working against the flow and the dream. And now you know where you're supposed to be. You've gotten a taste of it. Now you know you're worthy of it. It's your true path. It's your purpose. This is when you're playing with God. This is when you're fully expressing the truth of who you are and you're making the energy of creation smile when you feel good and are in the flow of life. Not here to suffer. That's the old Piscean age story of the punishing God. And so time to step out of all the old nightmare stories. And maybe that's that Mars square Pluto coming in being like, okay, where are they? Pluto and Capricorn is like, it's about power, but the structures of power and organizations of power. And so it's about us claiming back our own power from those structures. And so that will be showing itself to you, right? The contractual arrangements, the belief systems, family energies, all that huge bloom of that's going to be exact from around the 5th and the 6th. So the whole first week of June, and so enjoy this trine energy because we're moving into the square tension energy, but they're working together to get us out of the trap. And at the same time, we're feeling Mars coming back into the exact square with Uranus. And this is our building in the new age versus our revolution of wealth. So it's really interesting to go from the poverty consciousness energy of disconnection and alone and nobody cares and nobody's taking care of me and I don't know who I am. This is the way the human is feeling right now. And that connection with life and the flow of life. And that's where we need to be. And so really, really powerful. And we'll see now all of this is leading up to the next eclipse, which is in Gemini, massive bloom of the Gemini energy, solar eclipse in Gemini, and it's not too far out of square with Neptune. So again, mutable square and the Gemini. So Gemini is the first mutable sign in the zodiac story. It's about human connection. It's about the self versus the other. Who am I in relationship to my siblings? and my parents and my family and my friends. Who am I? What am I doing here? Self, other. And it's about coming into a sense of self, but also lack a sense of self, right? Of like Gemini. Gemini is such a chameleon, can go like the butterfly from flower to flower, but then it's kind of like, oh, I can see this, I can visit this, I can do that. But then who am I? Where do I belong? Do I have a place here? So it speaks to this disconnection and trying to find connection again. And that comes through a voice and expression communication. So really important to get together and talk with people who are like-minded right now, and even bringing any conversation with any person that you encounter back to that place of meaning and purpose. This is what's trying to come back into our life with this water trine. And so that Gemini eclipses are lining up. It's a timeline alignment, and it's that North Node Gemini. Where are we going? How are we going to get there? Oh, through expression. Oh, figuring out who we are. Oh, who we are is our connection to source. If we don't have that, we don't have anything. We're not even a person. No wonder this emptiness. The emptiness is making a place for the connection to come back in. And so Neptune's the last water sign, or the last mutable sign of the zodiac. And it's about that oneness connection. But then that oneness connection can be used to program and control humanity psychically. See, we're trying to get out of the mind control trap here. Mercury square Neptune. And then, but that Gemini energy square Neptune and of this solar eclipse is, who are you as a human? Can you call yourself a human if you're not connected to source? Because you're going to be a robot really soon. It's not the robots are coming and the zombies are coming. We're being made into that, uploaded to the cloud software to be able to be remote controlled. So maybe we need that Mars square Pluto, right? It's like, that's the contractual arrangements. And we made those contracts with beings that are not as evolved as where we came from. And it's silly. It's like the giant being held down by string. It's only going to last so long. Wake up, sleeping giant. It's time to come home, put yourself back together, and be here, fully present in this experience, not immobilized in grief and fractured into pieces. And so that Gemini eclipse is like a new way forward, seeing through the fog, breaking down the mind control, dropping the nightmare and stepping into the dream, and a personal direction. Like, oh, I can see the next steps in my life, right? It might not unfold until the full moon in Capricorn after this eclipse, because that's when the eclipse season officially completes. It's like the next moon cycle, right? But so very powerful, because these next 3 weeks, it's like stuff is rearranging on a level I can't even imagine. Psychic rearranging. And what I'm seeing as I say this is like a rearranging of the rat cage, of the quarantine, of the mind control mechanisms and psychic control mechanisms and grief and programming and toxins interfering with our pineal gland, all that. And it's like rearrange from the box into the star pattern. And so really powerful time to completely rearrange your psyche, to land home who you are, put your pieces back together and get ready to roll. Now you know what you're here to do, is to come back into connection and live and breathe that connection. And it feels like you're loved and held and cared for, the new mother. In spiritual ascension, supposedly, like, not the way we're doing it in this different way with our consciousness, like changing our body, changing our world into light. But the spiritual ascension that we've gone through before is more unconscious, where it's like, okay, you come to a level of consciousness and then you leave that existence and you come and you have a new body, you have a new planet, basically realm, and you have a new mother and you have a new father. I don't know. This concept feels really important. We got to come back to it. We got to find our new mother and our new father. And maybe this is this lack of connection, because it's like our big spiritual mother, the great mother and creator, the father, and our future selves. The more evolved feminine and masculine parts of ourselves that are wise and can guide us. and the feeling of resting in what the earth wants to be, which is like, oh, mama is taking such good care of us. And we have the technology and the goals and the love to have this beautiful interconnected way of using our resources to take care of everybody and take care of our planet. And like, we're just feeling so good and a constant celebration of life. And this is what we're doing in the next chapter. And I've seen past lives of supernova souls throughout time, very rarely that you really got together to come back with your group. But there were these moments where your group came together and planted seeds of this different way of being, a different way of interacting with the world. Literally architectural, integrated architectural, geometric science structures that make it work for everybody in a peaceful, harmonious way. And the technologies that have been suppressed are a key piece of this, but those technologies that are suppressed also hold free energy. And so that's really what's keeping us, like the old financial system, the petrodollar, because we know there's free energy. We know there's miracle healing. We know we have techniques and methods to totally take care of everybody on this planet. And can you be in that vibration over these next few days to take advantage of this beautiful trine, to rest in the arms of the mother in the flowing water of life, and to show up in the love of this connection of feeling what it feels like to let herself entertain and rest in that feeling of being cared for. And you can have everything you need. This is part of the joke, right? This is part of the trap. It's like we're taught to well, when you have enough money, when you have security, when you have your house, oh wait, no, you need a better job so you can, and then you got to work harder so you can get the better house, better car, and you never have a life, right? And it's like this trap of thinking that something out there is going to fulfill something in here, and it's just total bullshit. You can have all the money in the world and still feel completely empty and alone. But what does it feel like to feel held and loved and full? Because you know what? The love you're looking for, the love we're all trained to go out there and play games to get, the only love you can ever have is your own love. That's all you can ever have. That means all the love you can ever have, the abundance of love, is right here in your heart. And you fall in love and you feel that love. It's not the other person giving you love. It's you opening to your own love. And this is the core essence of the trap we've been in, because it's like humans, the neediness of humans created a power grid, control grid. Keep you from your needs, keep you in survival mode, keep you denied, withheld, the love of the earth withheld from you. So you have to go outside of yourself and try to get it. And then you feel empty and alone. And you feel empty and alone when you're in a quarantine. You feel empty and alone when you're disconnected from source through these mechanical means or addiction. You feel empty and alone when you're going to these ancestral places. And this is almost the core distortion within the human. And the medicine then is connection and human connection. And you can go ahead, if someone feels lost and alone, you can go be there for them all you want, but if they can't receive it, they're never going to see. No person or manifest thing in this world can give you what you're really looking for. But what about when we do find that within ourselves and we come and celebrate it together, and the abundance of that love that just exudes out energetically as a balm for the whole earth? So here we go, our next chapter of creating these structures and the deliberate connection and celebration, and being the celebration of love and light itself, life itself, by resting in the arms of the mother and receiving the love that you are back home in your heart, which is exactly the same as putting yourself back together and saying yes, or you already said yes, but getting on with the spiritual ascension out of the trap. This astrology is intense, but it's all about getting out of the trap and back into this glorious, beautiful connection of the love that you are. And when you find that and you want to open your heart, share that, you are the balm, you are the medicine. You are doing what you're here to do. and you're building these structures and you're loving your people and you're coming together in this deliberate celebration of life, that is the remedy and the cure. So thanks for being here. You're doing it. We're doing it. When you go to that place of deep disconnection, know that you're going there to learn that, so you can have deep compassion for humanity, because that's where a lot of humanity is choosing to go right now. You've already been dabbling here because you're not scared of the dark, and you've already been, you've been at what you've gone through in past lives. Now it all pays off, right? Now it comes back around. All that's been stolen from you, sevenfold returned. Are you ready to step into the abundance of love that's in your heart because of all you've gone through, and get out of that trap of the lower matrix nightmare and be in the living dream? So I look forward to seeing you soon on the next update. I'll have some information out about that Gemini solar eclipse. It's a potent, powerful time. Don't miss a moment and let yourself rest there in that flow of life. So I look forward to seeing you soon. Until then, I'm Adrienne Elise. Namaste.